welcome to IT industry. I welcomed all of you to Skillslash as we started, but I am really happy to now welcome you all to the field of IT industry. I know many of you are totally non-IT background. Now, why am I so confidently welcoming you to the field of IT? Because I know my students, my delegates who have joined today, you've joined with some aspirations. It's not that you just joined because you wanted to attend something from 6 to 8. No, that's not the reason, right? You have some aspirations, some dreams, and I am lucky to guide you in your dreams and aspirations this evening. So what we're going to do is we are going to cross nearly 500 participants, which is a big number. So keep chatting and I'll try my best to keep a good eye on the chat. All right, everybody. Okay, Ganesh, Om Prasad, Dharmendra. Now let's look into the different fields of IT in which you can step your career or probably switch your career, right? Life is so good. You never know what all are the different opportunities. So right in front of you, I'm going to show you the different opportunities in which the field in which you can actually step your career or probably start your career. All right, about you, you can stop typing now. It's fine. I got a good idea as to what all of you are majorly doing. Now, let's talk about it. These are the different roles of IT in which we can either start our career or stop our career. So what I've done is I have clubbed some of the roles here. You can see we'll complete this slide in next 5 to 10 minutes, right? Try to understand what are the different areas in which you can start your career, like a quick career counseling slide. And then post that, we will start with the SQL and we'll start with the SQL queries, everybody. Okay. So the first role is a role of a developer or the data analyst. Okay, is my voice breaking? Some of you are saying, can you write the voice breaking and then I can sort it out? No. Okay, so that means, guys, all those for whom the voice is breaking, can you please check your internet connection once? I've got many no's, so people can hear me. Just check your internet connection once, and if it breaks for multiple people like you, I will fix it. Okay, Dharmendra, check your internet. Yeah, clearly audible. Okay. So the different fields of IT in which we can start our career or we can step our career are the roles of a developer, the tester, the business analyst, the project manager, the designer, and the support. Did you know that there are so many different fields in which you can start your career? So what we are going to do is that Vishal, check your headphones. Everybody said that it is quite audible. You're saying my voice is not audible. Just check it once. So the different fields of IT are all these different fields of IT, and we're going to talk about what all are these fields. If you go into this role, what is your day-to-day job that you're going to do, everybody? And the next thing that we are going to talk about is what are the requirements at the moment, from the industry point of view, what are the requirements that we have got? Okay, so the first role is the role of a developer. I have also clubbed another role, which is data analyst, but what I have got is a role of a developer. So for a role of a developer, what do we need? For a role of a developer, and before what do we need? Can you write down in the chat what is the different things which a developer can do or what a developer does? What is the role of a developer? Can you put it in the chat? And I'll quickly read it. Develop software, build applications, app development, do the coding, develop the applications, okay, full stack, okay, coding, debugging, app development, backend and front end, coding. Okay, brilliant. So many of you said, what is the main role of a developer? To build applications. What kind of applications? Web applications, mobile applications, and the desktop based applications. These are the three main types of applications which the developers helps you to do, right? You would have, you use web applications, websites, you use mobile applications, right, on the mobile phones. You use the desktop based application, something that you will install on your desktops, right? So when it comes to the role of a developer will help you to build applications. What kind of applications they build? Web applications, mobile, and the applications which you install on your system, right? Now, what are the different things that you need to learn if you move on to the field of the development role? Java is one of the very, very widely used technology. Python, C++, Visual C, C#. If you want to go into the web application development, then HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Bootstrap. You should have the database knowledge. Plus, very sneakily, I have written a word more here. You know, why did I write the more here? Because as a developer, as a data analyst, you need to keep yourself upgraded with the new trending technologies which comes in, right? You need to be really on your toes to learn those. Yes, Nishu, Node.js, PHP, Angular, these are some of the other technologies which you need to learn. So if you feel you are a kind of a person who loves building applications, this role is for you. Okay? If you love to build applications, this role is for you. The next role of IT is the role of a tester. Now, who's a tester? Somebody in the chat wrote, I am a manual tester. So what is the main reason that the testers exist? What is the main benefit? Checking the result. Very good. Make sure that the application which is there is working fine. Very good. Bug-free application. Okay. Excellent. The developer will build the app product and the tester is going to test the product, right? So what is the tester going to do? Make sure that whatever you are delivering it to the end user, to the customer, is working as per the expected result. That is the main benefit of a tester, right? So what all is the tester's responsibility? The responsibilities of testers are to test applications, to make sure that the application is working as per the expected results. This is all what the tester has to do. Now, there are the three main things that when it comes to tester, right? There are three main things. What are the three main things? You should know how to do the manual testing. There is a certification, this ISTQB that you see, everybody. I'll show you, I'll highlight it. ISTQB, this is the certification which is International Software Testing Qualification Board. So you should do manual testing. You should be doing the ISTQB, which is International Software Testing Qualification Board. And the next thing that you do is the automation testing, right? Manually testing the applications, doing the certification, and finally doing the automation testing. Not all applications can be manually tested, right? So for that, you would need an automation testing tool. Anybody knows the name that you need for the automation testing? One of the very widely used tool is Selenium. So if you want to be able to go into testing field, you definitely need it. Guru Prakash, very good question. Is there any other certification for a developer? Guru Prakash, is that you're asking? Very good question. In terms of the certifications, Guru Prakash and everybody, for Java, you can definitely go for a certification which is called as OCJA. You know which company, which organization Java belongs to? Oracle. So for Java, if you feel you're really good in Java, you should go for Oracle Certified Java Associate. Akhil, no recorded session. This the session will be available on the YouTube. Okay. OCJA, and then you have OCJP, which stands for Oracle Certified Java Professional. These certifications do not have any eligibility, Srishti. All you need to do is, if you're really good in Java, appear for this exam, book for this exam, and that's it. So OCJA, for Python also you've got some certifications. So you've got certifications for all of this, right? Soumya, very good question. Is there is a difference between developer and data analyst? Yes, dear, it is different. Somehow I clubbed it, but you know, with the field of data science booming and all those things happening, I should have ideally put data analyst as a separate role. So while the developer is going to help build the application, data analyst will help you analyze the data, right? Certificate will be given, guys, for this. Please don't ask about certification. You will be getting the certificate for if you attend today's and tomorrow's session. Okay, Dhananjay. Sorry, Sai Prasad. YouTube channel will have this. Yes. Okay. Now, for just couple of minutes, I'm not looking at the chat. So data analyst will help you analyze the applications or the data, and developer will help you build the applications. And tester is going to help you test the application. So if you think you are a kind of a person who can test the applications which are built by the developer, then this role is for you. The tester role is for you. Okay. For data analysis, Durga, do I need to know coding? Yes, Durga. The language is Python. What do I need to learn to become a data analyst? You need to have good stats knowledge, ML, AI, and you need to know Python. And that is what exhaustively we teach at Skillslash. Okay. The YouTube channel link, you will get it at 7 o'clock. We'll give you this all the information. Okay. We are just focusing on studying at the moment. So for the testing career, you need to know manual testing, ISTQB, and automation testing. For the ISTQB testing, you need to learn Java or Python. These are the two main languages. All right, everybody. So if you think you are a kind of a person who loves to test applications, you want to find bugs in the applications and make sure that the product that you're giving to the customer is a very, very good quality product, then this role is for you. Okay. Just before we start SQL, let's complete these slides quickly. The third role is the role of a business analyst. Now, anybody in the chat who wants to answer, what is the main role of a business analyst? Exactly. He is a bridge between the client and the team. Very good answers. Very good. Thank you so much. The developer is going to build the applications. The tester is going to test the applications. But the business analyst is somebody who will be basically being a bridge between the client and the team. Business analyst is an individual who's going to understand the requirements, and the requirements have to be understood well by the business analyst, explained it to the team, and the team will then start working on the product. So if you think you are a kind of a person, who loves to interact with the clients, you can understand the requirements, you can understand and explain those requirements to your team, right? This role is for you. For the business analysis field of IT, you need to do some BA certifications. You can explore on the internet what all are the business analysis certifications that you can go through. All right, everybody, BA certifications. Now, the next role is the role of a project manager. What does a project manager do? The project manager helps you to, I'll put a fill in the blanks now. Sai Prasad, is it easy to become a data analyst? It's easy to do anything in life, Sai Prasad. You just need the correct direction. Everything is easy. Okay. What are the prerequisites to switch in the BA role for a non-IT professional? Mirinal, explore the BA certifications, right? Just explore on your own. What are the BA certifications that you need to know? But make sure you have some kind of a technical skills before you go into the BA role. Soumya, this is answering your question. Does BA need the technical skills? Definitely. Okay, so let's quickly complete this and jump on to the SQL. Now, project manager, somebody who's going to manage the overall project. So time management, how much time will it take? How much resources, how many resources are needed, and the budget. So time, resources, and the budget. That is what the project manager does. And for a project management role, what all do you need? You need to have the PMP, the Prince2, the MSP, and the skill set. That skill set is definitely needed so that you can manage the people. The next role of IT is the role of a designer. What does a designer do? Can you quickly put it in the chat? Designer, somebody who's going to design the application, somebody who's going to create wireframe. The word is wireframes. How many of you heard of the word wireframes? Can you all Google it out now very quickly as we are talking? Just go to Google and type wireframe. I'm going to do that for you so that it's easy for you to visualize. I just type the word wireframing and I'll go to images. Can you see these beautiful interfaces? The wireframes which have been created looks like, some of the web applications, looks like some of them are for the mobile applications. So some kind of a design. Who will create this design? The skeletal framework. Very good. Create the interface. Yes. It's like, before you build a house, what do? You go to the architect and you get a good architecture of your house ready. So similarly, if you have to build a product, you have to build an application, you need to get the structure ready, right? So that structure, who will help you get ready? The designer. So the designer role, if you think you're a kind of a person who can understand the requirements and you can design the applications, the designer role is for you. What is the designer responsible for doing? The designer is responsible for making a user interface. A designer is responsible for doing a user experience. He's a technical architect. He can help you do the zeppelins and the mock-up. See, so many different things. Can you believe it? So many different things they help us to do. Designer. So UI, UX, technical architect, zeppelins, mock-up. Okay. And some of the technical architects also have clubbed it in the role of a designer, and zeppelins and mock-ups are some of the tools which helps you to work on the design. Okay. How much time you require to complete the data analytics course with Achandan, look at all these things in the website, right? We will give you all the informations. Now, the last role before we conclude these slides, support. The support role. Can you put it in the chat? What is the support role? Meanwhile, I'm reading your questions. Sanket, Selenium is a tool to answer your questions. Selenium is a tool which will help you automatically test your application to see if it is working as per the expected results. Okay, Sanket, does that answer? It helps you to test. Skills needed for business analyst, you should be very good in interacting with people. You should be able to understand the client requirements. You should know at least one or two languages, right? Okay, I'm reading the answers for the support now. Once your product has gone live, you cannot leave the customer as it is, right? So once your product is gone live, you would like to give it a good support. And who will give a support? The support team. And what is the support team going to do? Support team is going to support the product. Support team is the team which will help you support the product and make sure that the application is working and the client is happy. So if you are a person with good communication skills and you can support, you can help the customer, and you have a very good product knowledge, you should have a very good product knowledge to support, this role is for you. Okay. So are you all happy now? Today you saw around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fields of IT in which you can step your career. In a very short duration, you have also seen what all are the things needed, right? Now, whatever you are really good into, you can definitely start with. In order to become the backend developer, you have some skills needed. Which coding language is better to learn? Python is the answer. Who's getting more package? It depends on the organization. Okay. Shrishti, thank you for that big caps lock message. Big thanks. I'm glad you're liking it. So this is the slide, guys, and these slides will be available to you. So don't worry, if you want to take a nice, beautiful picture, you can, but we'll make sure that these slides are also available. Okay. Now I want a big energetic yes. If you're ready to start with SQL, I'm going to close this now. And thank you for listening to the slides. We are now going to close. Okay. So welcome to IT document done. I hope now you understand. And it was a very, very important document for all of us to understand, because now, any field of career you choose, any role you go into, you will be working very, very closely with the people. So you should now know what a designer do. You now know what a tester do. What is the role of a developer? What is he coming from? Know who's a support team person. You now know who's a project manager. All right, everybody. I hope it's all clear and ready. Brilliant. I need a good energetic yes if you're ready with the SQL, and we are going to start. Right. So as I'm loading my slides, everybody, for the SQL and I'll just share it in one single second. Okay, thank you. Thank you. In a very small minute duration, I got 50 chats saying, yes, ma'am, we are ready. And that is what I wanted. All right, fasten your seat belts, everybody, as we start the SQL. And SQL stands for Structured Query Language. So much so I want to cover so many things about SQL in today's and tomorrow's session. Time is the foundation here, right? So we'll try to cover as much as we can though. Now let's talk about it in a fundamental way, because many of you said, ma'am, we are students, we are freshers, no experience of coding, never done SQL. So I want to keep things very, very simple in the beginning. just to make sure that our foundation is very, very strong. Now, any application that you design will have two things. Any application, whether you're building that application in Australia or Canada or India or anywhere, your application is going to have two main things. Can you tell me in the chat? Harshad, bio students can get into very easily into data science. At Skillslash, we have had modules where, you know, people from totally different chemical, civil, mechanical, never coded before, did fairly well job, very well in the field of data science. So with that confidence, I can say definitely. Okay, so Muthu Raku, you said front end and back end. Jagrati says front end and back end. Any application, very good. So, ma'am, which two languages should I learn primary for data science? Ritika, Python, and R is the answer. Okay, my eyes are off the chat for some time now. I'm going to talk about what exactly any application has. Two things: front end, second thing, back end. What's the difference? Let's try to understand quickly. I go to Amazon.com and I am going to now search for some handbags, and I say handbags. For women is fine. Front end, something which is visible to you, something that you can see as an end user. What do you see? Most of the applications, the front end, right? So when you go to Amazon.com, you can see the bags, you can see new releases, the books and the music. What is this? How is it getting rendered? Through front-end technologies. They could be HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Bootstrap. It could be literally anything, right? So that's the front end. And the second very, very important thing that we have is called as the back end. And what is the back end? The place where the entire information is stored. So when I went to Amazon.com and I said handbags for women and I clicked on the enter, you all agree with me that the information is coming from somewhere. Everybody agrees the information is coming from somewhere. And where is it coming from? The backend, the database. So front end is what you see. This is front end. And then when Marglove, fashion, woman, PU, leather bag, messenger bag, shoulder bag, and I click on this one, you know, on this front end, see the information, more information is coming on this page. From where is it coming? From the back end. So what I'm trying to explain here is the data gets stored somewhere, and that somewhere where the data has got stored is called as the back end. Now I'll close this website now. Just, you know, it might be a little distracting for my ladies here. So I'll just close it. Now, the websites or the mobile applications or desktop based applications, you know, all these applications will have some kind of a backend where the entire information is stored. And the way you have programming languages which helps you to code and help you to make the front end applications, similarly you have got languages to work on the backend. And what are those languages to work on the backend, everybody? Any language do you know which helps you to work on the back end? So what those languages will do, let me give you a hint. Let's say I am going to use a hospital management system. So I'm using a hospital management system. I'm building it, right? Or let's say, to keep things simple, I have shifted to a new place. I've shifted to, let's say, just as an example, I've shifted to Bangalore. And I wanted to register myself to a hospital. I walk into that hospital, and online or maybe a hard copy, that hospital gives me a form to fill. And in the form, what they give me are the details like what is my first name. They give me what is my last name. They ask me to enter my age, my gender. They ask me to enter my HB count, my reports, or any kind of the medical things that they want me to enter. And what they do, they take that data and they store it somewhere. So what have they actually done? They have actually created a record for me. Where? In their backend. Using what? A front end. So it could be a form, it could be a piece of paper, but using some kind of a mechanism, they created a record, because now I want to use the services of that hospital. So they created. So the first operation that helped us to do was create. Now, what will help me create things into the database? The programming language which is helping you to operate on the databases. One such example is SQL. So SQL is a programming language which helps you to work on the backends to do different operations. What can be those different operations? We are learning it at the moment. So first operation that we have is is a create operation, which helps you to create. Okay, so they created my record. Let's say I have now changed my phone number and I want the hospital to have my updated phone number so that they can send me messages, they can call me on my new number and not the number which is not in use. So in that case, the query that I'm going to fire is, or the query or the operation that we are going to do here is the update operation. What is the name of the operation? Update. So in SQL or in any programming language which helps you to do operations on the backend, they will have a command called update, which will help you to update, right? The next operation. I go to the hospital and I tell them, you know what, I got the blood test done and I want you to tell me what the reports are. Can you print the reports for me? They ask me for the hospital ID. They ask me for my name, and then they fetch the results from the database, something similar to what we did in the case of handbags. I searched handbags for women, and what happened? It helped me select the records. It helped me fetch the records. Similarly, on the Amazon.com, if you want to buy a phone, you will say Samsung phone or Android phone or iOS phone. And what will happen? It will help you fetch the details, fetch the results. Isn't it, everybody? You agree with me? Yes or no? Very good. So it will help me fetch the details. And how will I get the details fetched? Through the command called as select. Select is the command. And finally, I don't want to use the services of the hospital. I'm moving to a new place. And I say, you know what, I don't want any correspondence from you. Please don't send me emails, nothing, because I'm not moving to another place. Right? So you can delete my information. So what they are going to do, they are going to delete my record from the system. Delete means remove. It will disappear. All right, everybody. So what were the main operations which happened in this hospital management system? You were able to create a record for a person. You were able to change, that is, update the record of the person. You were able to select some details for that particular person, and finally delete. And whenever you are going to do these operations, these are very commonly called as the CRUD operations: create, retrieve, update, delete. Any application you use, it will always have this CRUD operations. And be it a banking application, a hospital management system, any application, you go to a bank, you create an account, you update your details in the account, you fetch the details from the account, you finally delete from the account, delete the account. So CRUD operations. Okay. So what is SQL? A language which helps you to do these operations. Operations on what? Operations on databases. Okay. Time for me to open the chats now. Okay, now questions time. You can put your questions now. Put your questions now. While I talk, it's a little difficult for me to look at your chats, but I'm going to keep all my eyes onto the chat now. Shrishti, retrieving and fetching means same. Yes, dear. Retrieving and fetching is the same thing. It's a select operation. C++ is best or not? Oh my God, that's a difficult question. Every language is good. Depends upon what you're doing with that language. Delete, truncate, and drop. Vishal, we will cover this as part of our operations. Arpita, can you explain CRUD? CRUD is create, retrieve, update, and delete. These are the operations that you do on the system. CRUD full form is create a record, retrieve a record, update the record, and delete. Okay. Jeevan, is that clear now? Right. Linux and Unix are the operating systems Sindhuja, you have answered it. Okay. Difference between drop and delete, we will talk about. Acid property, okay, we will talk about. Any other question? Okay, Jagrati, you're loving the teaching style. Jagrati, join me. Join me. All those who are liking the way of teaching, why don't you join me? That's easier, isn't it? Okay, now let's get back to work. And what we are going to do is with this wonderful chats, it's keeping me busy. So I will just close this chats now. Any other questions that you have, guys? Anything you want to ask? Any other questions? What is the DBMS and RDBMS? And explain DCL. Chalo. Okay, we will explain. Many technical questions have started coming. So let's talk about it. So SQL stands for Structured Query Language. Like in programming languages, whenever any one of you have coded before, what is program? A set of instruction that you write down for the box to do something, for this laptop to do something for you. That's a program. Similarly, when it comes to the database, there is something called as a query which helps you to do something there on the back end. So SQL stands for Structured Query Language. It is a language which helps you to store. It helps you. It's a language which helps you to change. It helps you to retrieve the data which is stored in the databases. There are different types of relational database management system. Another difficult word. Whatever I am writing now, guys, in the notepad, what I'll do is at the end of our training today, I always do that. My class notes, I will give it in you in the chat. So at the end of the training, I'll copy whatever I have been writing and I'll give it to you so that you can keep it as a note. Okay, so sit back, relax, and just keep taking the concepts. You don't need to write at the moment many things. Okay. RDBMS. What is the full form of RDBMS? And then there is another very difficult word, which is DBMS. What is the difference between RDBMS and DBMS? Let's see. Let me increase the font so that it's visible very clearly to all of you. Okay, I'm not looking at any chat at the moment, guys. So sorry if I'm not able to answer your question. I'm focusing on my notepad. DBMS, which stands for Database Management System, a system which helps you to manage the database, right? And what is database? The place where you're going to store the information. And then comes RDBMS. RDBMS stands for Relational Database Management System. Relational Database Management System. Long ago, we needed we always say necessity is the mother of invention. When you need something, you invent it, right? Whether it is a Covishield vaccine or anything, if you need something, only then you create it. So long ago, we needed some mechanism to store the data that we have somewhere. And then the IT industry invented something which is called as DBMS, which was Database Management System. Now, in the database management, many of you have asked this question, what is the difference between DBMS and RDBMS? So in this database management system, which is an older version, something that we used to see before, the data was stored in the form of files, physical files. Okay. And then the redundancy of the data, there was no relationship between the data. The data was not put in a very smart way. Right, all we had was an XML file or a notepad file in which the data was stored. So we could not find much sense out of the data which was stored as part of the DBMS. So what was then invented? What was then needed? A better DBMS. And what is that? RDBMS, which stands for Relational Database Management System. The Relational Database Management System helps you to store the data in the tabular format. That is how it helps you to store. So what happens in a case of an RDBMS? You have tables, you got columns and rows in which the information is stored. You can find the relationship between the tables. Somebody asked me a terminology called ACID, ACID. So I'm going to give you a full form of that also now. So A stands for, in this case, A stands for atomicity. C stands for consistency. I stands for isolation. And D stands for durability, right? So ACID, atomicity, consistency, isolation, durability. What is that? These are the properties. This is the purpose of creating the RDBMS. What are these? We will touch base later on these. And then in the case of RDBMS, you can maintain some relationships. You can make sure that the data is not duplicated. You know, you can make sure that the word Srishti or the name Srishti doesn't come 10 times. Same Srishti is not getting added. So some kind of restrictions you can put when it comes to the RDBMS. And that is what relational database management system is all about, right? And SQL is a language which helps you to work on the RDBMS. SQL is a language which helps you to work on the RDBMS. As I said, I will copy everything and I'll put it in the chat for all of you. All right, everybody, is that clear? So are we clear with the terms CRUD, DBMS, RDBMS, ACID, and the SQL? CRUD, the create, retrieve, update, delete. DBMS, olden days thing, something which we did before, which was DBMS, database management system, in which the data was stored in the form of the file format. Then we have RDBMS, which stands for relational database management system, in which the data was stored in the form of a tables. And then the ACID, which stands for atomicity, consistency, isolation, durability, the feature set of RDBMS. And SQL is a language which helps you to work on RDBMS, right? So if you were asking me a couple of questions, ma'am, which is the language that I should learn for data science? I said Python. Ma'am, which is the language I should learn for automation testing? I said Java. So now if you ask me which is the language which I need to do to operate on the databases, answer is SQL. All right. Okay, 91 chats. Now let me open to the chats. Ashish Parwar, data difference between the DBMS and an Excel sheet. An Excel sheet also is storing your data. DBMS is also a kind of a data which helps you to store in a file. So kind of similarity is there. Okay, difference between RDBMS and Excel sheet, is that now clear? Okay, Surya is guiding on what is the difference between delete, replicate, and this. Database connectivity we will not do in this course. Excel and Power BI. Excel and Power BI. Power BI is a tool which helps you to draw graphs. It helps you to analyze the data. Okay, which platform is best to practice the SQL? Okay, we will talk about it. Tabular format. What do we mean by is the data getting stored in the tabular format? That is what I'm going to explain it to you now. Okay, so let me open an Excel sheet, everybody. And once I open that Excel sheet, I'm going to show you the concept of the database, the table, the rows, the columns, rows and the columns in a very easy way, right? So I hope you can now all see the Excel sheet, right? Now, in order to understand it in a very simple way, let me draw a diagram, okay? This Excel sheet is representing the rows and the columns. And very quickly, what I'm going to do, just choose any one of the colors. How about this color, right? And this whole thing that I have got here with me is representing a database, right? Some of you asked me the differences. I'm going to explain it to you now in an easy way. So this is a database which is having the entire information, right? We'll take an example so that it becomes very easy for us. I'm going to take an example of a database, which is the company. Company is the name of the database that I have here. Now, this company database that I have with me can have multiple tables, right? The data can be stored in this particular database with multiple tabular format. As I'm drawing this, can you see? Those tables can have different rows. Those tables can have different columns, right? And I'm going to show you how it works. This database company can have a table called as employee, okay? And this employee table that I've got can have different columns. I could have employee ID. All right, so employee, and they will have employee ID and the employee name. Now, what next do we have? The next thing that we have is it could have another table, and in this table, you can have multiple informations. What could be the multiple information? It could be the ID and the name. It could be another ID and it could be the name. It could be ID and it could be the name. So there could be different records in this, right? You agree with me? And each of these represents a table, right? So to understand this in a very much more easier way, assume that there is a 25-story building, right? Where you have got 25 stories, you have 25 floors. That entire building that you have represents one database, because that's the place where the entire people, all the people are staying. So that's the one database. And within that database, you've got flats. So you can compare those flats with the tables. And where are those tables or those flats placed in? Those tables or those flats are placed in the, any answer? They are present in that big building, which is the database. So it's not wrong to say that multiple tables will go inside a database, or a database can have multiple tables. All right, everybody. Any questions? Please put it in. Okay, let me see the questions now. Chandrakant, cursor trigger views and all. I'll try my best. We'll cover tomorrow. Okay. Now, another very 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 common question, which comes is, we say SQL and we say MySQL. Now you've understood, I hope. Let me just do a quick revision of what we've done till now. So we've looked into, if this is my database, this particular database will have some information, and that information will be stored where? That information is going to get stored in some tables. These are my tables. It could be an employee table, it could be an employee salary table, it could be employee bonus table, it could be employee personal detail table. But all of those are getting stored where? In one database. What is the name of the database? The company. Okay. So I hope nobody will now going forward get confused on terminologies like CRUD, DBMS, RDBMS, ACID, and SQL. But there's still one confusion, guys. Still one confusion. Many people get confused on what is MySQL and SQL. They look very familiar, right? MySQL and SQL. And if you ask me, ma'am, is there anything like your SQL, his SQL, her SQL? There is nothing like that. Until you guys invent it, it's nothing like that at the moment. It's only MySQL and SQL. So what is the difference between MySQL and SQL? Anybody, can you give it a wild guess? Please don't say when I write SQL query, it becomes MySQL. No, that's not the answer. What is the main difference between MySQL and SQL? Very commonly used terminology, isn't it? Functions deals with RDBMS, DataBMS. Okay. SQL is a language. Okay. Developed by different organizations. Okay. Let me give you the answer quickly. SQL stands for Structured Query Language. SQL. This is actually a programming language, as we discussed before. Nothing new for us, right? Programming language. It's a programming language. And what is MySQL? MySQL is actually a RDBMS. It's an RDBMS. That means it's a relational database management system. What's a relational database management system? We discussed something which helps you to store your data in the tabular format. So your SQL is a query programming language which manages the RDBMS. Okay. And MySQL is a database management system in itself. Right? I hope it's crystal clear now. Any confusions on MySQL and SQL? Okay, got it. Now, one more question has come up. Sakisha, very good. There is a very commonly used terminology in SQL and no SQL. What is SQL and no SQL? Let me see how many of you can answer. Okay. Now let me give you the quick answer. When it comes to the difference between SQL and NoSQL, now we know that SQL is but basically a kind of a language which helps you to work on the databases, right? The NoSQL, if you ask me what is the main difference between the NoSQL and this, MySQL is a relational database which is less flexible. It has got a lot of design constraints, right? The MySQL is a relational database, whereas NoSQL is a non-relational database. So your data is not stored in the form of the rows and columns, right? One very commonly used database, which is MongoDB, right? It's an open source. It is a NoSQL database. Okay, so just this much knowledge, you can explore more on this concept, but I hope this is clear for now, right? Now, if I go back to my slides, why do we use SQL? Because it helps us to do different operations on the relational database management. It helps you to describe the data. It helps you to define the data in the database, and it helps you to create and drop the databases and the tables. And this beautiful diagram denotes what I explained to you on the Excel sheet. This big box is representing a database which has got the different tables, and each of the tables has something called as field or column and rows or records. Now, what is that? A big database has some tables, and those tables have different fields. What are those fields? These columns. So you can see roll number, the name, and the age. These are the columns, and these are the rows or the records. So 1 Amit 10, 2 Kapil 10. These are your rows or records. Okay, so I hope this diagram makes it much more easier. You will get this content, don't worry. PDF you will get, certificate you will get, don't worry at all. Okay. Now, in any programming language when you're working, forget about SQL for now. Any programming language that you're working on, you will write some commands, right? You would write a command to print something. You will write a command to make a variable or some kind of an operation you will do. Similarly, the commands that you will create or the commands that you will use in the case of the SQL, that is called a query, right? So if you want to create a record, you will use a create query. If you want to delete from a particular record, you will use a delete query. If you want to update the record, you will use the update query. If you want to select or fetch something, you will use the fetch query, select query. So queries are some operations. And whenever you are making a SQL query, the query language processor, this is a kind of an internal structure. The query language processor will process it, give it to the database engine, further forwarding it to the database. And the database will either fetch the record for you, or it will insert the record for you, or it will update the record, or let's say, you said, I don't need anything, it will delete the record for you. Superb, everybody. Crystal clear, no questions? Okay. So once we come back from the break, we are going to discuss how to write those queries, the DCL, DML, and all those things we are going to talk about, because I think now the basic fundamental is clear. SQL is case sensitive or not. So any case you write, it should work. Okay, Ramya? The drop and delete we will discuss. Drop will drop the entire thing. Delete will only delete the columns. YouTube channel and all, Mandvi ma'am is going to tell you. She'll be with us now in a minute. RDBMS or no RDBMS, which is better, depends upon the requirements. Okay. What is meant by the query? The operation you are doing, Nitya, the operation that you're doing on the database, right? You go to the hospital, you want to fetch the patient details. What query you are firing? What query you are giving? Select query. So that operation that you do is done with the help of a query. Okay. So far, what we've looked into is the terminologies which were related to the DBMS, the RDBMS, the ACID, the SQL, the MySQL and SQL, and finally we've looked into the SQL and NoSQL. Post that, we also understood how is the difference, or what is the main difference between when it comes to databases and the tables, and I hope that is also clear. And now what we are going to do next is we're going to talk about some other common terminologies, and those terminologies are the data, the databases, the RDBMS, and the SQL. So let's all talk about what is all about data, what's all about the database, what is all about the RDBMS, and what is the SQL. Data, something that you store. Where do you store? Database. Which format do you store? In the RDBMS, which stands for Relational Database Management Language System. And what is the language you use to do? The SQL. Now, any programming, just like any programming language, before you use that programming language, you need to install that language. That is the option 1 that we have. And the second thing that you have to do is you need to have an editor. What is the editor? The window, the place where you will be actually writing your software, the place where you will be actually writing the program or the query. So for any language, any system that you're building, you need 2 things to work on. One is the installation of the language, and the second is the editor. Now, in this case, there are different editors which are available. There is an editor called Visual Studio, which you can use. There is a SQL Server editor you can use. Some of them, some of these technologies will give you some online editors, which you can also use. Okay, I hope it's making sense. So Visual Studio, SQL Server, online editor, these are the places where you will be actually writing your queries. All right, everybody. Priyadarshini, data is the information, right? So the student ID, student name, that is the data. Database is the place where you're going to store it. RDBMS is the Relational Database Management System. SQL is the language. Okay. This PPT and the PDF will be given. Don't worry. Azure Data Studio, Sumit, is yes, another option. So as I said, the editor, there are a lot of editors which are available where you can write the commands. And those commands are called as query. When you give a command to somebody and you say stop, the person stops. Why? Because the person heard you saying stop and he stopped, right? Similarly, when you want to do some operation, you will use a command. And in the case of SQL, that command is called as a query. Okay. Is that now clear, everybody? Query is the command. Okay. Put your questions in the chat. I'm going to the chat window. Any questions you have which are unanswered? No, we will go with the textual data only, Alumidin, most of the time. The song image, yes, you could deal with that. Yes, correct. Easy editor for this. Okay, I'll show you that SQL editor, which is easy. Chandan, can I get job only on SQL? Yes. The role that you would join is as a database administrator, where you will be working on as a backend team. In the backend team, you can join with the SQL. Okay. Now coming back to this, what is the best editor? I'm going to show you that editor, and then you can do the installation maybe later on. Just before this, let me take you to the slide where you can do the setup. So I'm just jumping some of the slides, everyone. Just give me a minute and I'll guide you how the SQL Server can be installed. Okay. If you want, you can take a quick picture of this. You can take a quick picture. We'll not do the setup in the class because what's going to happen with the setup, it will take us at least 10-15 minutes to do the setup. I want to focus more on the commands. But I'll guide you how this setup has to be done. You can do that with me in the class, but I won't wait for you to finish. Okay. So what are the setups required? What are the steps required in order to install the SQL Server 2014 on your system? First step is you will download the Microsoft SQL Server. So I'm putting this link in the chat for everyone. PPT you will get, certificate you will get. Please don't ask the questions. PDF also you will get. You will get all these things. Okay. Wonderful. I'm putting that link again. Assignment that you get, you can do that. You can solve that assignment and maybe you can discuss. We'll discuss that tomorrow. Okay. You can solve it anywhere. Right. So you will go to this link, everybody. That is the step number 1. If you scroll down, there is a button called as download, this red color button. You will click on the download. And what does this slide says? I hope by now everybody has taken a picture of this. Let me erase this. I hope everybody has taken a picture. You need 2 setups to be done. You will first download the server file. I'll just copy this and I'll go to the this link, and this is the first thing that we need. So I'll just do a Control F, Control V. So can you see Express 64-bit SQL EXPR x64? You will click on this option. This is the server file. Which is the next file that you need? You need the Management Studio file. So how do you search that? You will Control F, Control V. This is the second file. Though no other file is needed. Just these two files are needed. And because I already have the setup done, I'm not going to click on the next, but you guys will click on next. And when you click on the next, what it will do? It will download both the files for you. Okay, I repeat the steps. Go to this link, the one that I've given you in the chat. Select this and search for this. This is the server file. Select this and search for this Management Studio file. Click on the next, and the moment you click on the next, it will start the download automatically. Once you have done this, you will install the server file first, and then you will install the Management Studio file. Once you have done this setup, all done. That's all you have to do. But remember, you should install the server file first, then you will install the Management Studio file. And once that is done, that is all we need. Your SQL Server will be up and running. And when you select this option, you can open this by just searching for SQL Server, and you can click on the Connect option. As you click on the Connect option, you will see different options. Can you see that, everybody? Yes? Excellent. You will see these different options. Some of those files will take time. So that is why I'm not doing that in the class. If you want the name of those files, no, I can put that in this, or as I told you, you can always take a photo. You will get the PDF also with you. So I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to put it in the chat. Somebody was asking for this. And this is the first link that I've shared. This is the second. These two files you have to install. They are very bulky files, so your laptop should have good speed and good memory. Space should be there. Okay, this software is working offline, Sanket. You will download it and you will use it. Okay. Ashish, ma'am, please explain DBMS. Sure, Ashish. Ashish, DBMS is, you can treat it as an older mechanism of handling the data, dear. In the DBMS, which stands for Database Management System, you store your data in the form of a file, which is not very efficient. So I will not teach you DBMS. What I'm teaching you is RDBMS. In the RDBMS, which is much more efficient way of storing the data, you can store the data in the form of a relational database, in the form of, like I showed you, right? Tabular data, rows and columns, you can store your data. All right, dear, is that clear now? Good job. So these files, I've shared it with you also. Now, I assume that by tomorrow, most of you will try to do the setup. And once you have done the setup, you know, how will that environment look like? I'll show it to you once you have done the setup. This is how the environment will look like. It says SQL environment. This is the place where you will be writing the query. This is the place where the output will come. This is the place where all the databases will be shown. Within the databases, you will be seeing the tables. Within the tables, you will have server objects. So these are the three windows. This is the place where you will be writing a query. What is a query? The command. This is the place where you will get the output. This is the Explorer window. Okay. Time for me to open the chat and read the lovely questions. MySQL or SQL, which one is best for query? See, one of them is a programming language. SQL is a programming language. In that language, you are writing commands, all the create, update. MySQL is a database. So you cannot compare them. It's like comparing a horse and a donkey. They are two different things. Yes, Shrishti, once you have downloaded both of these things, this is the only thing you will need. By default, the database will be not there. You will create a database. I'll show you how to create it. Okay, Jasneet, you're using the company's laptop. Very bad idea to install the setup. Then you will not be allowed, isn't it? Okay. And all those who have actually fallen in love with the SQL and you really want to try something, one thing I can suggest you, you know, what you can do, if you just search for online editor, let's say, you're using your company laptop, you are taking this session from your mobile phone, your laptop is out for repair, or be any reason you don't have a laptop, but you really want to do something, do one thing, just search for online editor SQL. That's it. You, in this case, you don't have to do the setup, but remember, this is a very limited, it will give you very limited capabilities. So I'll put this link in the chat. This is something which you can do for practice, just for the practice. Okay, let me find a good editor and give it to you. This might actually give you at least a practice of things, So I'm just finding one good editor. Any one of them are good actually. All right. This sounds promising. So this link I'm putting in the chat. All right, Jasneet, you don't want to miss the seminar. We don't want to miss you. Thank you for letting me know. So 2 things you're doing, attending the seminar and at work. Good. Yes, Kranti, the recorded session is available. Please don't worry. Whatever session is left, please take the best out of it. You can check the recording sessions. So I've put this editor link 3-4 times just to make my chat prominent. Okay. Now, if you click on this, this is the place where you can practice different operators. But remember, one thing you need to remember that this is going to have limited functionalities, right? So there is a database where you have tables like customers, the categories, the employees. This is the editor where you can play around and do different things. Okay. All right. Another thing where you can practice the SQL, the best way, I mean, the place where I studied learning the databases was the MS Access. Can you all search for this? If you have the MS Office set up on your system, there is no reason that you will not have access. You will have access for sure, 100%. So how did I open this? Access. This is another default window-based database, very basic database. Might store less information, might not be that efficient, right? Might be used only for smaller data. So that is MS Access. So if you go to the home option and you click on this blank database, that is that database name, and you will click on this create option. And can you see you've got some tables created? Yes, I'll give you 2-3 minutes of time. Can you try this access thing? And you can also work on this MS Access also. This is the simplest database and table. Okay, open the access and come to the window where I am, and please write done in the chat so I know that you have already done. Done, everybody? Okay. So all that I was asking you to just do this, guys, nothing. You just open the access, and I was waiting for you to reach here. Then over here, you can enter the different things, you can make the tables, you can add the different things, you can add the columns, the ID, the name. So what I'm trying to say, MS Access is also another way of which you can create your tables and you can write your queries. But what we will be focusing on is this editor, which is very widely used. Okay, so this is that editor, as I was telling you. On the left hand side in this Explorer window, can you see these are the different databases, the objects and all. So this is the place where you can create your database. Now on this window, where will you write the query? You will write the query using the option new query. And as you click on this new query option, you will get a white screen on which you can actually write your query and you can actually execute your queries. All right, sounds good, guys. This is the place where you will be writing the queries, this white window. So SQL query 1.SQL. What are all the different queries? Let's have a talk about it. Let's look into it. Now we have looked at the environment also. All your queries in your SQL command can be divided into some categories, broad categories, right? And what are those broad categories? The first is the DDL command. The second is the DML command, and the third is called as the DQL. Let me make it a little bigger for you to visualize properly. DDL with the definition language. So what is the full form of DDL? What is DDL? Data definition language. What is DML? DML stands for data manipulation language. What is DQL? DQL stands for data query language. So if you look at it, these are the different categories of what? Different categories of SQL statements. So we've got a category called DDL, which stands for data definition language. We have got data manipulation language, which stands for DML. And then we have got a data query language, which stands for DQL. Okay. So data definition language, it has the create, alter, and drop. Data manipulation language, it has the insert, update, and delete. The data query language, which has a select. Easy, isn't it, everybody? So these are the broad umbrellas under which you got your queries classified. So for example, the DDL, which is the data definition language, you will have queries like create, alter, and drop. Create will help you to create. Alter will help you to change the structure. Drop will help you to drop the entire structure. The DML, which stands for data manipulation language, helps you to make the modifications to the data inside that table. It could be insert, it can help you insert the data, it can help you update the data, it can help you delete from that data. The data query language, which is the DQL, helps you to select from that particular table. So DDL, DML, DQL. DDL, create, alter, drop. DML, insert, update, delete. DQL, select. I hope it's clear. And one last command is DCL, granting the access, revoking the access. You don't have to worry if you're not able to remember it. Okay, it's absolutely fine. I'm going to explain you all of these commands one by one. Now, the first thing that we have written over here is DDL. Now, what does the word DDL means? It helps you to define your data, right? So if you want to create a database, or you want to create a table, or you want to alter the structure of the database, or you wanted to alter the structure of the table, or you want to drop the database, or you want to drop the structure of the table or database, you will use these commands. So data definition language has to do more with the definition, more with the structure of the data. All right, everybody is clear? Alumidin, how many queries are there? There are a lot of queries, different varieties. It's not possible to count all of them. There are a lot of different queries. Okay. The DDL will help you to create, alter, and drop. Create the structure, alter the structure, drop the structure. So let's take an example. This is the entire database. You wanted to create a database. What command you will use? DDL. You wanted to make a table here. What command you will use? Create. You then wanted to create the something called join, or some terms we will do tomorrow, stored procedures, you will use create. So whenever you are working on the structure of something, that is called as a DDL. Okay, I hope it's very crystal clear. Let's move on to the next one. In the next one, we are going to talk about the DML. DML stands for data manipulation language. What is the data manipulation language? Something which helps you to manipulate the data, right? So for example, I wanted to add one more record in this table, and I wanted to add one more record, 1004. A new employee joined the company and I wanted to add. So maybe Juhi joined it, right? So Juhi, I will enter your name here. So what did I do? I added a record. I created a record. Okay, clear, everybody? After creation, so what I did, I kind of inserted a record. So that insert record operation is the DML. Okay, inserting a record. What's the next thing? Update. Corresponding to the employee ID 10002, Manoj is there, right? But I accidentally added Manoj and I wanted to update Priyanka there. So what I'm going to do, 1002 against 1002, I've got the name written, which is called as Priyanka. So what this will do, it will update. This is the update. This comes under which category? DML. I don't want to have this record. I want to delete this record. I will right click on this and I'll say delete, and it's done. Right? So data manipulation language will help you to put the things on the databases. They will help you to update or do some operations on the database or the tables. The data query language, on the other hand, will help us to select. I'll show you all these queries one by one. We're just understanding the structure. And finally, for a database, you might grant the access, you might give the access, you might revoke the access, you might take the access. So you might give or you might revoke. So that is DCL. So what you've got here is the DDL, the DML, the DQL, and the DCL, right? And now let's try to understand each and every query one by one. The very first query is the create. So tell me one thing, guys. What do you construct first? Listen to the question. Very access is not okay. Let me before that read some chats now. Access is not working on your laptop. Do you have MS Office? K Purushottam, please check. Is there any attendance leak? Create database. Okay. Now, what is the first thing you will do? Whether you will make a database first or you will make a table first? Database will be created. Shaik, it is the database. Correct. Database is created. So it's like, you create a structure first. Very good. Thank you so much. You can stop typing. The database has to be created first. Can you guess what is the query I will write to create a database? Any guesses? Just create. That's it. Okay, I'm going to do what you guys are saying. Create database company. Some of you said this. Shall we try this? Or anything wrong? It's good. So what is the command? Create database company. This is the command which will help you to create the database. And which database have I created? What is the name of the database? Company or the organization. With this, what happened? In my databases, what will happen over here on the left hand side, a company database has got created. So a structure got created. Now, once the database is created, an empty database is useless, isn't it? It is of no use. What is my next step? What shall I do? I need to tell the system that I want to use a database. Which database I want to use? I've got so many different types of databases, right? But which database I want to use? I want to use the database company. So what I'm going to do? I'm going to use the database company. So why am I doing this? Because the reason is because I have this multiple databases can be present. So you need to tell the system which kind of database you want to use. Okay. Now, once the database use command is there, what are the next operations? Let's go back to the slide. Let's say these are your different tables, columns, IDs, name, age, address, salary. What are the different queries you will do? Once your database is done, what is the command? Create database and the database ID. So we did create database ID. So we did create database, and what is the name of the database? We did company. Isn't it, everybody? I hope there is no questions. And then you will fire each and every query. What is the reason of firing? Because until and unless, firing means executing. Unless and until you will just not execute, it will not work. So similarly, what I'll do, I'll let the system know that I'm going to use it. I'm going to execute it. It will say use company. It is telling the system that Priyanka wants to use the database. What is the database name? Company. Okay. So how do we create database? Create database company. If you want to create a database called student, you will do create database student, and that's it. Just this much. Easy? Easy or no easy? Can you put it in the chat? So far, so good. Easy. Okay. Is it case sensitive? Okay, some of you are asking case sensitive. Let me do one thing. Let me make this also uppercase. Let me make this also, because when you do things practically, you remember. It is case sensitive. It's not case sensitive. The error I'm getting because I already have a database. So let me try with create database company. So what does this prove? Python is not case sensitive. You can write the command in uppercase or lowercase. So create database company one, and I would say use company. Use company means I will be using this company database. Now, what is the next thing that we have to do? Let's go back. I'll be using a command to create a table. Within the database, I'll create a table using the command create table. So before tomorrow's workshop, one homework you have, everyone, I showed you a slide, right? How you can do the setup. Can you all look at the slide and make sure your database is up and running? Yes. And then just create one database and create a table. Just do these bits. Make sure the setup is done. I didn't do the setup in the class because it would have eaten our 15-20 minutes. So setup you can complete on your own so that we can practice some more queries. Now, the next command is to create a table. How do we create a table? We will use the command create date. Now, this create is actually DDL, DML, or what is it, guys? Can you think and let me know? Very good. Excellent. So it's a DDL, data definition language. Good job. So what is the command we will use? Create table. You will give the name of the table. Let's say you are creating the table which is employee in the company database. What you will do, you will say create table employee. You will give the name of the column. Let's say, so can you suggest me what all columns can go in the employee table? So you will do create table, table ID. You will give the name of the table. You will give the column name. You will give the data type and you will give the size. Column 2, data type size. So I could add an employee ID and that employee ID could be an integer number. So data type denotes what kind of data you are kind of storing. You know, let's say I wanted to store marks of the student, or I wanted to store the employee ID of an employee. It's a whole number. It's an integer number. So I will use a data type int. It's a whole number. If you are storing the salary, you might do or use a different data type. So all those data types we will cover. But whenever you are creating the table, this is the syntax. You will use the command create. You will use table and you will give the name of the table. Okay. The sizes and all I'll explain you, dear. So this is one of the table creation syntax. See, if I do create table EMP, I want to create a roll number 5, employee ID, character 20, age int, class cat 10. Let's see how it works. Let's go back to our editor and I'll press enter. Okay. Now let's see. Inside the company database, I wanted to create a table. The name of the table is EMP. What does the EMP table have? Roll number. What type of data type roll number can have? A character, one single digit. Okay, so I have chosen char. You can use int also. It depends upon what kind of data you are actually storing. Okay. Employee ID also I have treated as a char value 20. So 5 things can go inside this. You can have a length of 20. Age of a person is always a whole number, 5 year, 10 year, 85 years, 22 years, right? So the data type is int, which is int. And then you have class. Class is basically of the type char or char. What is the size? 10. What is the size, everyone? 10. Okay. So shall we fire this query? Firing means executing, firing. So what does it tell me? It says the command completed successfully. If you make any mistakes in this query, for example, you miss the bracket, you miss the comma, any mistakes you will make, it will say, it will give you an error and it will not execute your command, unfortunately. So you need to correct it. Okay. So far, we have done some things practically. What all are those things? We created a database. We learned how to use that database. We learned how to create a table within the database and what all are the different columns and what all are the different data types in those columns. Okay. Okay. Questions time. Please put your questions in the chat. I haven't spoken to you for a long time. Why do we need to put integer in brackets? Part of the syntax. The way we have written, it's all part of the syntax. Recordings will be given, guys. Some of you have doubt around the semicolons. You said put a semicolon, ma'am. Okay, so I'm going to change the employee table name to EMP1 and now I'm going to execute it. So semicolon, you can put, you cannot put. It's okay, up to you. Okay, somebody is asking on this. Sizes, I'll show you, Juhi, in a minute. Nikita, clear. Good job. Thank you for letting me know, dear. Now let's go back. So our table got created. But every time it's telling me command successfully executed, successfully executed. Do you all want to see the table which has got created and how does it look like? Yes. Shall we have a look at it? Brilliant. Let's have a look at it. So how do we look at it? You can use a command select star from. What was the name of the table we created? Let me see how many of us are actually being attentive. What was the table? That EMP1. Very good. EMP. Very good. So two tables we created. So what I'm going to do, select star from EMP, semicolon you want to put, execute it, fire it. Here we go. See, a table got created, roll number, employee ID, age and class. Okay, 10 means the size. So Kiran, 10 characters can go inside that. Char 5 means 5 characters can go. Okay. Oh my God, Bhakti, Bhakti, very difficult question. Why no number is entered in the int, in bracket int? Why you're not writing part of the syntax here? Okay. All right. Thank you for lovely questions. Select star from EMP will give you the structure of the table. And similarly, if you do select star from EMP1, which was our second table, this will also will help you to fetch the result. See that? Employee ID, roll number, age and class. Right. Now let's have a look at the adding some values. How do you insert into the table? You know, no table is useful if you don't put values inside the table. If you want to put the values into the table, what is the command that you will be using? You will use insert into table and then you can give the values. I'll give you a minute's time to digest this query. This is the syntax, insert into. You can give the name of the table which you are going to use. You can give values, and inside those values you can give the whatever columns you had, roll number you had, employee ID you had the age, you had the class. Okay, the command is insert into. As the name suggests, it will help you add a record. It will help you add a record. Okay, I'll show you the query now. So this is the command. I wanted to add something into the EMP table. What am I doing? I'm doing insert into EMP values. Values are what? 1, 1, 35, 2. 1, 1, 35, 2. So we will do insert into EMP values 1, 1, 35, 2 will help you add the values. And when I run this, it says 1 row affected. Now tell me, if I want to see whether the record has successfully entered or not, what command I will use? Very good. I got the answer for what I was looking for. You can now do it by select star from EMP. And now what will it give me? Let's see. Let's run it. Yay. The first record has got executed. Okay. Now one more record I wanted to add. Let's add the record. This time I wanted to add 2 and maybe the age of the employee is 40, and then I'll put the class as 4, and I'm going to execute it again. Select it, execute it. 1 row affected means the record has been successfully entered. You can check whether the record has been successfully entered by doing select star from EMP. As you execute it, you can see there are 2 records which have got added. Beautiful, isn't it? Yes, Soumya, I mean, if I have to add 1 million records, it's quite tedious, right? And that is where the shortcuts are available. So in the advanced SQL module, you can actually see how you can import your data by creating it, you know. Okay, is that clear? Why am I executing the queries, selecting the queries? That is how I have to do it. So if I just do this and I say execute, it will execute all the queries. Do you want to execute all the queries every time? Answer is no. So what you actually need to do, you need to select it, right click on it, and then execute it. That's what you wanted to do. Okay. Columns name can be mentioned. That is another way. Okay. Now let's try to relate what we have done till now. Okay. We have first of all practically created a database successfully. Within the database, very successfully, we were able to create the tables. Within the tables, we were able to very successfully enter the records, the columns and the rows and the data. That has been done very nicely. We have been also successfully being able to see whether the records have been successfully added or not using the select command. And we are now comfortable with the concept of data types, right? I can give you a list of all the data types quickly. So select command done. This is the list of all the data types. As I told you, I will give you this slide so it is easy for you. But these are the size. So if you have a data from this range to this range, you will use int. If you have data from -32768 to 32767, you will use small int. If you have a data from this to this, you will use decimal. If you have the data range from this to this, you will use money. If you have data from this range to this, a bigger exponential number, go for float. Similarly, there are other data types like char, varchar, and text. And there is a difference between char, varchar, varchar2, which we will pick it up tomorrow. Okay. In addition to this, these are some other data types. Date, time. These are all for your date data type. Okay. Date, time, small date, time, date, time. You've got miscellaneous data types like image. Somebody asked me, ma'am, can I store only the text? I said, no, you can store multiple things, but majorly you will use it for text. So image. Okay. So try this assignment. You can take a snapshot, guys. You will create a database demo. You will create a table employee. You will have all these columns. You will add 10 records manually into this table, and you will finally select it. Right? Take a photo. This assignment will also be published, but please, please, please take a photo. Okay. Time for me to put all the notes that I have been writing in the class for now, so that all my delegates can keep it somewhere. You can also store the notes somewhere, and whenever you want, you can refer it. So everyone in the meeting, I am putting the notes that we have been typing in the class. I'm just doing it multiple times to override the chats that you are writing. So you can copy just once. Bulk data, Lumidin, yes, you can import the data from the CSV file and put it in your database. You can take it from the Excel files and you can download it. You can take it from the PDF also, right? Submit assignment, don't worry, just finish your assignment. We will discuss it in the class tomorrow. So as soon as I as soon as I start the session tomorrow, what I'll expect all of you to do is, I'll expect all of you to copy the work that you have done and put it in the chat. And I will do a quick revision. Okay, that's all you have to do for the assignment. Now, please put your questions. Delete and drop. Okay, now delete means you will delete the records. So if you have a table called as employee and you say delete, delete will delete the records which are there. So employee names, employee IDs, that is what it will delete. Drop means it will drop everything. Okay, the PPT welcome to IT and this PDF file team will definitely share it with you. They will upload it and you can download it from there. The assignment you don't have to send anywhere. We will discuss it in the class itself tomorrow. Okay, I'll display the assignment. You can take a photo if you want to, guys. Please take a photo. The PDF and that file will be uploaded. It will be given to you guys. The team will upload it. In order to join tomorrow's class, Vishnu, you have to join the same link. It will be the same time tomorrow. Yes, same time as today. The content will be uploaded. The content will be uploaded. It will be given to you over email. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, guys, for your 2 hours of your time. I hope you've learned something with me this evening. And I look forward to see you all tomorrow. By tomorrow, please do the assignment and please make sure you've done the setup properly. Okay. So if you do the setup properly and you've done the assignment, very good. We'll catch up tomorrow and then we'll move on to quick advanced level queries. Today's target was to look at the basic queries, but tomorrow we're going to do joins and different queries which exist in SQL. All right. Thank you everybody for joining. Wish you a very nice evening and we'll see you tomorrow.